My name is Olivia Miller, 32 years old, and today I watched my own wedding video for the first time in 5 years. The ceremony was beautiful, intimate, with 50 guests in attendance, none of them my parents. They chose my younger sister's dance recital instead, not knowing what they were missing. That day changed everything about our family forever. What began as my final attempt to matter to them became the moment that redefined what family truly means. Blood loyalty. I learned it's just a myth. Before I dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. If you've ever felt overlooked by family, you'll want to hit subscribe and stay for this entire journey. Family dynamics can be brutal, but karma. She always delivers. Like this video if you believe in justice served cold. Growing up in suburban Boston, I was always the responsible one. The straight-A student who never caused trouble, who babysat her younger sister Sophia without complaint, who worked part-time jobs since 16 to save for college. My parents, Richard and Eleanor Miller, were successful professionals, Dad a corporate attorney, Mom a hospital administrator. We lived in a beautiful colonial house, with a manicured lawn, and hosted neighborhood barbecues every summer. From the outside, we were the picture-perfect American family. But inside our home, the family dynamic revolved around one person, my sister Sophia. Sophia was 10 years younger than me, a surprise baby who arrived when I was in elementary school. She was beautiful, precocious, and gifted, especially in dance. From the moment she could walk, she displayed an extraordinary talent for movement. By age 5, she was enrolled in the prestigious Boston Ballet School's children's program. Her natural grace and ability quickly made her the star pupil. My parents' world shifted to revolve entirely around Sophia's dance career. Our family calendar was dictated by her rehearsals, competitions, and performances. Family vacations were scheduled around dance intensives. Dinner conversations centered on Sophia's progress and potential. The walls of our home gradually filled with her trophies, medals, and professionally framed performance photos. Meanwhile, my academic awards gathered dust in a drawer. Olivia, could you pick Sophia up from dance class today? We need to meet with her private coach. Olivia, we are going to miss your choir concert. Sophia has an important audition. Olivia, can you help Sophia with her homework? She has a big performance this weekend and needs to focus on rehearsals. These were the familiar refrains of my childhood. I became less of a daughter and more of a support system for the family's true star. I learned early to suppress my disappointments, to smile and say, of course, no problem, when they missed another milestone in my life. High school graduation. They were there, but left early for Sophia's rehearsal. College acceptance. A brief congratulations before returning to discussion of Sophia's summer intensive program. As the years passed, I built my life around their absence. I excelled academically, maintained close friendships, and pursued my passion for literature and writing. I graduated summa cum laude from Boston University with a degree in English literature, then completed a master's program in publishing and writing at Emerson College. By 26, I had secured a position as an associate editor at a respected publishing house in Boston. Through it all, I kept trying to earn their attention. I'd send them copies of books I helped publish, invite them to industry events, suggest family dinners to celebrate my promotions. But there was always a competition, a rehearsal, or a showcase that took precedence. The pattern continued so consistently that my friends and colleagues began to notice. Your parents missed your promotion dinner again, my best friend Rachel asked incredulously after they cancelled at the last minute for Sophia's callback audition for a regional production. It's fine, I replied automatically. Sophia's audition is really important. It could lead to bigger opportunities. Rachel gave me a long, searching look. Do you ever get tired of making excuses for them? Her question hit me like a physical blow. Did I? Had I spent my entire life normalizing their behavior, justifying their absence, minimizing my own needs? The realization was both painful and liberating. For the first time, I allowed myself to acknowledge the hurt that had been building for decades. It was around this time that I met James. He was an author whose manuscript I was editing, a thoughtful, perceptive man whose novel about family relationships resonated deeply with me. Our professional relationship gradually evolved into friendship, and then, to my surprise, into love. James saw me completely, listened attentively, and valued my thoughts and feelings in a way I had never experienced before. After 2 years of dating, James proposed during a weekend trip to Cape Cod. It was perfect, simple, meaningful, and entirely focused on our relationship. As we drove back to Boston, ring glittering on my finger, I felt a familiar anxiety rise. How would I tell my parents? More importantly, would they even care? I called them that evening, heart racing. Mom, Dad, I have some news. James proposed, and I said yes. There was a brief pause, then my mother's voice, "That's wonderful, honey. We are happy for you." In the background, I could hear music playing, Sophia practicing, no doubt. "We should plan a celebration dinner soon," my father added. "That would be great," I replied, knowing it would likely never happen. "Oh, Olivia, before I forget," my mother interjected, "Sophia just found out she's been selected as a featured soloist in the summer showcase. Isn't that amazing?" The artistic director said she's the most promising dancer they've seen in years. And just like that, my engagement became a footnote to my sister's latest achievement. That night, as James and I discussed wedding plans, I made a decision. This one day, my wedding day, would be mine. I wouldn't compete with Sophia for attention. I wouldn't beg my parents to prioritize me. I would create a beautiful ceremony surrounded by people who truly wanted to be there. "What if we don't tell them it's a wedding?" I suggested to James, the idea forming as I spoke. James looked confused. "What do you mean? What if we just invite them to an important event? No details about what it is. Just a date, time, and request for their presence. Do you really think that's necessary?" James asked gently. I thought about 27 years of disappointments, of always being secondary, of the emotional labor of pretending it didn't hurt. "Yes," I said firmly. "For once, I want them to choose to be there for me without knowing why. I want them to show up just because I asked them to, not because they've weighed its importance against Sophia's activities." James squeezed my hand. "Okay," he said. "If that's what you need, that's what we'll do." I didn't realize then that this decision would set in motion a series of events that would permanently alter my family's dynamics. I couldn't have predicted the consequences of my small act of self-protection. But as I look back now, I recognize it as the moment I finally stopped accepting the unacceptable, the moment I began to value myself enough to expect better. Planning a wedding is stressful under normal circumstances. Planning one in secret, with a deliberate test for my parents, added layers of complexity I hadn't anticipated. But I was determined. James and I chose a beautiful garden venue on the outskirts of Boston, intimate enough for our modest guest list, but special enough to feel magical. We selected an early June date, when the roses would be in full bloom, and the weather would likely cooperate for our outdoor ceremony. "Are you sure about this?" Rachel asked as we browsed bridal boutiques. She had been supportive, but concerned about my unconventional approach. "I've never been more certain," I replied, running my fingers over a delicate lace gown. "For once, I need to know if they'll choose me without Sophia in the equation." The invitations for most guests were traditional and straightforward, elegant cream cardstock with navy lettering announcing our wedding date, time, and location. But for my parents, I created something different, a simple card requesting their presence at an important event in Olivia's life, with the same date and time. I deliberately scheduled it 6 months in advance, giving them ample time to mark their calendars. I mailed their invitation separately, then waited. 3 days later, my mother called. "Olivia, we got your card. What's this event about?" I had rehearsed my response carefully. "It's something really significant to me, Mom. I can't share the details yet, but it would mean everything if you and Dad could be there." "Well, that's rather mysterious," she said, sounding slightly annoyed. "We need to know what it is to check if it conflicts with anything." "It's on June 12th at 2 p.m., I replied. "I've given you 6 months' notice specifically so you can keep that time open." My mother hesitated. "I think that might be around the time of Sophia's summer showcase. Let me check our calendar and get back to you." My heart sank, though I'd almost expected it. "Sure, Mom. Just let me know." For the next few weeks, I threw myself into wedding preparations. James and I selected our cake, hired a photographer, chose floral arrangements, and finalized the menu. I found the perfect dress, an elegant A-line gown with vintage lace detailing that made me feel like the protagonist in one of the novels I loved. Throughout this time, I maintained normal contact with my family, careful never to mention the event or my wedding plans. Sophia was indeed preparing for a major showcase with her dance company. At 22, she was rising quickly through the ranks and being groomed for principal roles. During a Sunday dinner at their house, I casually brought up my event again. "Have you and Dad checked your calendars for June 12th? I asked my mother as she served dessert. She exchanged a quick glance with my father. "Actually, we've been meaning to talk to you about that. Sophia's summer showcase is that weekend. She's performing a solo piece that could really catch the attention of the national companies. My event is just one afternoon," I countered, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Surely you could attend both." "It's not just the performance," my father interjected. "There's a reception afterward where the directors from major companies will be mingling with dancers. It's a crucial networking opportunity for Sophia's career." I looked at Sophia, who was texting under the table, seemingly oblivious to the conversation about her. "So you can't attend my event?" I asked directly. My mother reached across the table and patted my hand. "Honey, you know how important this is for Sophia. You're established in your career already. Couldn't you reschedule whatever this is?" The familiar pain of dismissal washed over me, but this time it was accompanied by a strange sense of clarity. This was exactly why I had set up this test. I needed to see their priorities laid bare, without the excuse that they would have made a different choice had they known it was my wedding. "No, I can't reschedule," I said quietly. "The date is fixed." "What's so important that it can't be moved?" Sophia asked, finally looking up from her phone. I smiled tightly. "You'll find out eventually." In the car ride home, James was silent until I finally spoke. "They are not coming." He took my hand across the console. "Are you sure you don't want to tell them it's our wedding? They might change their minds." I shook my head firmly. "That's not the point. I want them to choose me once, just once, without knowing why it's important. They've had 27 years to show up for me, and they never have. Why would this be any different?" "What about Sophia?" James asked. "Are you not inviting her either?" I hadn't fully decided about my sister. Our relationship was complicated. I didn't blame her for our parents' favoritism, but we had never been close. She had grown up accustomed to being the center of attention, and I had grown accustomed to existing in her shadow. There was no animosity between us, but no deep connection either. "I'll send her the same invitation," I decided. "Let her make her own choice." The following week, I mailed Sophia's event invitation. 3 days later, she called. "So what's this mysterious event?" she asked without preamble. "It's important to me," I replied, giving her the same explanation I'd given our parents. I'm hoping you can be there. Sophia sighed dramatically. Liv, it's the weekend of my showcase. Mom and Dad are already coming to that. Can't you just tell me what this is about? No, I can't. You'll need to decide whether to attend without knowing the details. That's weird, even for you, she said. Well, I can't miss my showcase. The director of American Ballet Theatre might be there. This could be my big break. I understand, I said, and I did. Sophia had been conditioned her entire life to prioritize her dance career above all else. Good luck with your performance. After hanging up, I crossed the last of my family members off the guest list. It was official, none of my blood relatives would attend my wedding. Strangely, rather than feeling devastated, I felt liberated. The wedding would be filled only with people who had actively chosen to be there for me, James's loving family, our dear friends, colleagues who had become like family over the years. There would be no tension, no checking to see if my parents were actually paying attention during the ceremony, or if they were preoccupied with thoughts of Sophia's performance. What I didn't anticipate, however, was that news of my wedding would leak to my family in the most unexpected way, setting off a chain reaction that none of us were prepared for. 4 weeks before the wedding, I was at a final dress fitting with Rachel and James's sister Melissa, who had become a close friend during our engagement. You look absolutely stunning, Rachel said as I stood on the pedestal, the seamstress making final adjustments to my gown. James is going to lose his mind when he sees you, Melissa agreed, snapping a few photos on her phone. The bridal boutique was upscale and private, located in a converted brownstone in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood. As we were concluding the appointment, the door chimed, and to my absolute horror, I saw a familiar face enter, Diane Peterson, my mother's closest friend since college. She was there with her daughter for a fitting for another wedding. Our eyes met across the room, and her expression shifted from surprise to confusion to understanding as she took in my attire, the boutique setting, and my bridal entourage. Olivia, she exclaimed. What a lovely surprise. Are you? I stepped down from the pedestal, my heart racing. Diane, hello. Yes, I'm getting married next month. Her brow furrowed. How wonderful. Though I'm surprised, Eleanor hasn't mentioned a thing about your wedding. I exchanged glances with Rachel, who subtly shook her head in warning. It's a rather intimate affair, I managed. We're keeping it low-key. Diane nodded, but I could see the wheels turning in her mind. As my mother's closest confidant, she knew there was no way my mother would be keeping quiet about her eldest daughter's wedding, unless she didn't know about it. Well, congratulations, dear. Your dress is exquisite, she said, kissing my cheek. I'll have to call your mother and catch up soon. After she left, I sank into a chair, my hands trembling slightly. She's going to call my mother immediately, I said. This was not how I wanted them to find out. Rachel squeezed my shoulder. Maybe it's for the best. Now they'll know what they are missing, and they might change their minds. But I shook my head. You don't understand. This will just make it worse. They won't be sorry they are missing my wedding, they'll be angry I didn't tell them it was a wedding. I was right. Within 2 hours, my phone exploded with notifications. First came a text from my mother. Diane just called me. Is it true you're getting married next month? And that event is your wedding? Call me immediately. Then my father. Your mother is very upset. What kind of game are you playing, Olivia? Call us. Even Sophia chimed in. WTF, Liv. You're having a secret wedding and didn't tell any of us. That's seriously messed up. I turned my phone off and tried to focus on breathing. James found me sitting on our apartment balcony, staring blankly at the Boston skyline. Your mom called me, he said quietly, sitting beside me. She's pretty upset. What did you tell her? That she should talk to you, he replied. This is your relationship with them, and I support whatever you decide to do. I leaned my head on his shoulder. I knew they wouldn't come to my event. I knew they'd choose Sophia's showcase. But part of me hoped, just this once. You don't have to call them back right away, James said. Take some time to decide what you want to say. But avoidance wasn't an option for long. The next day, my parents showed up at our apartment unannounced. When I opened the door, my mother pushed past me into the living room, my father following with an apologetic, but stern expression. What is this about, Olivia? My mother demanded. Diane said you are getting married next month. Is this true? I stood my ground, arms crossed. Yes, it's true. James and I are getting married on June 12th, the date of my event that you both decided you couldn't attend because of Sophia's showcase. My mother's face flushed. You deliberately misled us. You sent a vague invitation without telling us it was your wedding. What kind of daughter does that? The kind who's tired of always being second place, I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. I wanted to see, just once, if you would choose to be there for me without knowing why it was important. That's manipulative and childish, my father interjected. Is it? I challenged. Or was it a final test after a lifetime of disappointment? I gave you 6 months' notice, Dad. 6 months to arrange to be at an event that I said was important to me. And you both immediately decided that Sophia's showcase was more important, without even knowing what my event was. If we had known it was your wedding, my mother began. That's exactly my point. I exclaimed. You shouldn't need to know it's a wedding to choose to be there for me. You should want to support me because I'm your daughter, and I asked for your presence at something important to me. My mother's expression hardened. So this was all some sort of test. You set us up to fail to prove some point about your childhood grievances. No, Mom. You set yourselves up to fail by continuing the pattern you've maintained my entire life, Sophia first, me second. Always. My father, ever the mediator, stepped forward. Olivia, we understand you feel overlooked sometimes. But this is not the way to address those feelings. You've created an impossible situation now. Your wedding is on the same day as your sister's most important showcase. How do you expect us to choose? The irony of his statement nearly made me laugh. That's exactly what I've been saying, Dad. I don't expect you to choose me. You never have before, why would you start now? My mother sank onto our sofa, suddenly looking exhausted. So what happens now? Do you expect us to miss Sophia's showcase? To tell her that her big moment isn't as important as your wedding? I don't expect anything, I said truthfully. I made my peace with your absence weeks ago, when you both made it clear that my event wasn't a priority. The only difference now is that you know what you're missing. And Sophia, my father asked. Did you deliberately schedule your wedding against her showcase to punish her too? The question stung, because it revealed how little they understood me. No, Dad. I chose a date that worked for James and me, our venue, and our loved ones. I didn't even know about Sophia's showcase until after we booked everything. The conflict is coincidental, but your response to it was illuminating. My parents left shortly after, the air between us thick with unresolved tension. My mother paused at the door. We need time to think about this, Olivia. This isn't how I imagined your wedding would be. Neither did I, Mom, I replied softly. Neither did I. After they left, James held me as I finally allowed myself to cry, not because I was sad they might not attend my wedding, but because I was mourning the relationship I had always wished we had. What I didn't know then was that the most dramatic confrontation was yet to come, And it would involve the one person I hadn't expected to take sides, Sophia herself. 3 days after my parents' visit, I received a text from an unexpected source. "Can we meet for coffee? Just the two of us." Sophia. I was surprised. Sophia and I rarely spent time together without our parents present. Our 10-year age gap and vastly different interests had always kept us in separate orbits. Still, curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet her at a quiet cafe near her dance studio. When I arrived, Sophia was already there, her dancer's posture perfect even in the casual setting of a coffee shop. At 22, she was strikingly beautiful, with our mother's delicate features and our father's intense blue eyes. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek bun, her dance bag resting beside her chair. "Thanks for coming," she said as I sat down across from her. "I wasn't sure you would." "Honestly, I wasn't sure either," I admitted. "But I figured we should talk." A waitress took our orders, a latte for me, green tea for Sophia, and then we were left in awkward silence. "So," Sophia finally began, "you're getting married?" I nodded. "In 3 weeks. And you didn't tell any of us because—" I took a deep breath. "It's complicated, Sophia. I sent you all invitations to an event that was important to me. You all chose not to come. Because you wouldn't tell us what it was," she exclaimed, then lowered her voice when a few heads turned our way. "How were we supposed to know it was your wedding?" "That's the point," I said quietly. "You shouldn't need to know it's a wedding to support me. If I say something is important to me, that should be enough." Sophia stirred her tea thoughtfully. "Mom and Dad are really upset. They think you did this deliberately to create drama." "Of course they do," I sighed. "They can't imagine that this is the result of their own choices." "What do you mean?" I studied my sister's face, wondering how much she understood about our family dynamic. Had she ever noticed how our parents centered their lives around her, or was their favoritism so normal to her that it was invisible? "Sophia, our entire lives, Mom and Dad have prioritized your activities, your needs, your accomplishments over mine. I don't blame you for that, you were a child, and you're incredibly talented. But it's been a pattern for 27 years. My wedding day was the one time I wanted to be the priority." Sophia looked genuinely confused. "That's not true. Mom and Dad love both of us. Loving both of us isn't the same as valuing us equally," I explained. "When's the last time they missed one of your performances for something in my life? Even something important?" She thought for a moment. "I don't know. I can't remember them ever missing any of my performances." "Exactly. But they've missed my college graduation ceremony, my master's thesis presentation, multiple work award dinners, and now they are planning to miss my wedding, all for your dance events." Sophia sat back, a flicker of realization crossing her face. I never thought about it that way." "You weren't supposed to," I said gently. "You were just living your life, pursuing your passion. The problem isn't you, it's them." Our drinks arrived, creating a brief pause in the conversation. I watched as Sophia seemed to process this new perspective, mentally reviewing our shared history through a different lens. "So the event invitation was a test?" she finally asked. "In a way," I acknowledged. "But it was also self-preservation. I couldn't bear to explicitly invite them to my wedding only to have them decline for your showcase. This way, they made their choice without the emotional weight of knowing what they were choosing against." "That's actually kind of brilliant," Sophia said with a small smile. "Manipulative, but brilliant." I couldn't help but smile back. It was possibly the most authentic exchange we'd ever had. "So what happens now?" she asked. "I get married in 3 weeks, surrounded by people who chose to be there. James's family has been wonderful, and my friends have become my chosen family. Sophia fiddled with her teaspoon. What if I wanted to come to your wedding? The question caught me off guard. What about your showcase? There will be other showcases, she said simply. But you only get married once, hopefully. I felt a lump form in my throat. Sophia, I appreciate that, but I don't want you to cause a family rift. Mom and Dad would be devastated if you missed your performance. Maybe it's time they experienced what that feels like, she said, with surprising firmness. Maybe it's time they understood what they've been doing to you all these years. I stared at my sister, seeing her in a new light. Perhaps in focusing on our differences, I had underestimated her capacity for empathy and her ability to recognize injustice, even when it benefited her. There's something else you should know, Sophia continued, looking slightly uncomfortable. I've been thinking about taking a break from dancing. What? Why? You're at the peak of your career. She shrugged. That's what everyone says. But lately, I've been wondering if I'm dancing because I love it, or because it's what's expected of me. Mom and Dad have invested so much in my career, time, money, their entire identities as parents. I'm not sure I know where their ambitions end and mine begin anymore. This revelation stunned me. All these years, I had assumed Sophia was living her dream, basking in our parents' unwavering support and attention. It had never occurred to me that their intense focus might be a burden to her as well. Have you told them? She shook her head. I've been afraid to. Their whole world revolves around my dancing. What would they have left if I stopped? Each other, I suggested. Their own interests. Maybe even a relationship with their other daughter. Sophia reached across the table and took my hand, a gesture so unexpected that I almost pulled away. I'm sorry, Liv. I never realized. I should have seen what was happening. You were a child, I said again. This isn't your fault. Maybe not. But I'm an adult now, and I can make my own choices. She squeezed my hand. I want to come to your wedding. I want to stand up for you, like you've probably been standing up for me my whole life without me even knowing it. I felt tears threatening and blinked them back. It would mean a lot to have you there. Good, she said decisively. Then it's settled. I'll talk to my director tomorrow about missing the showcase. As we finished our drinks, our conversation shifted to wedding details, and I found myself excited to share them with my sister. For the first time, I felt like we were building a relationship based on mutual respect rather than obligatory family ties. When we parted outside the cafe, Sophia hugged me tightly. I am going to fix this, Liv. Somehow. I didn't know what she meant, and I was afraid to hope for too much. But as I watched her walk away, her dancer's grace evident in every step, I felt something shift between us, a new beginning, perhaps. What I couldn't have anticipated was just how determined my baby sister would be to right the wrongs of our family history, or the dramatic confrontation she was about to initiate with our parents. Hey everyone, this story is really starting to heat up. If you're enjoying it so far, please hit that like button to let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced family dynamics where one sibling seems to get all the attention? Stay tuned for what happens next as Sophia confronts their parents. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the conclusion of this family drama. I didn't hear from Sophia for 3 days after our coffee meeting. When she finally called, her voice was tight with emotion. I did something, she said without preamble. And I'm not sure if you'll be angry or grateful. That sounds ominous, I replied, setting aside the manuscript I'd been editing. What did you do? I invited Mom and Dad over for dinner last night and showed them your wedding invitation, the real one that you sent to everyone else. Then I told them I'm skipping my showcase to attend your wedding. My heart raced. How did they react? Not well, she admitted. At first, they thought I was joking. When they realized I was serious, Dad went quiet, but Mom lost it. I closed my eyes, imagining the scene. Tell me everything. Sophia described how our mother had cycled through disbelief, anger, and finally emotional manipulation, suggesting that Sophia was throwing away her career for a childish sibling rivalry. Our father had remained largely silent, his expression unreadable. I didn't back down, Sophia continued. I told them that I've watched them prioritize me over you my entire life, and I'm done being their instrument for hurting you. I said they had a choice to make. They could attend your wedding as a family, or they could go to my showcase alone while I celebrated with you. Sophia, I breathed, you shouldn't have put yourself in the middle like that. Yes, I should have, she insisted. Someone needed to hold up a mirror and make them see what they've been doing. They are so convinced they've been perfect parents to both of us that they can't even recognize their own favoritism. I was speechless. My little sister, whom I had always seen as oblivious to our family's dysfunction, had become my fiercest advocate. There's more, she added. I brought out photo albums, family vacations, holidays, graduations. I showed them how many of your important moments they missed for my dance events. I had them count the photos of my performances versus photos of your achievements. The evidence was right there in our family records. And? I prompted when she paused. Dad started to get it, I think. He got really quiet and kept flipping through the albums. But Mom kept making excuses, how your events were during business hours, or how my dance career had limited windows of opportunity, or how you never seemed to mind. I laughed bitterly. Never seemed to mind. I just got really good at hiding how much it hurt. That's exactly what I told her. Sophia exclaimed. And then I said something that really hit home. I told them that while they were so busy ensuring I had every opportunity, they were teaching me the worst possible lesson, that my pursuits were more valuable than other people's feelings, that my success justified hurting those who loved me. I felt a surge of pride for my sister's insight. How did they respond to that? Mom cried. Actually cried. Said I was being unfair and ungrateful. Dad just asked me if this was really how I felt, or if you had somehow convinced me to take your side. Of course he did, I sighed. I told him it wasn't about taking sides. It was about recognizing a harmful pattern and trying to break it before it destroys our family completely. Sophia paused. Then I showed them the photo of your dress that Melissa posted on Instagram. She what? I gasped. James's sister had been careful not to post any wedding details on social media at my request. It was an accident, she deleted it quickly, but not before I saved it. You look beautiful, Liv. When they saw it, I think it finally hit them that this is real, you're really getting married, and they were planning to miss it for a dance recital I have every season. I leaned back against the sofa, processing everything. So what happened in the end? Where did you leave things? I told them they have until the end of the week to decide. Either they come to your wedding as a family, all of us supporting you on your special day, or they go to my showcase alone, knowing that their choices have permanently damaged their relationship with both their daughters. That's quite an ultimatum, I said, feeling both touched and terrified by Sophia's boldness. It wasn't an ultimatum, Liv. It was a reality check. They need to understand that actions have consequences, and their consistent choice to prioritize my activities has a cost. I had to admit, my sister had courage. Have you spoken to your director about missing the showcase? Yes, she said. She wasn't happy, but I explained it was a family emergency. I've never missed a performance before, so she's giving me this one pass. The understudy will take my place. After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence. James found me there, staring at the wall. "Everything okay?" he asked, concerned. I looked up at him, still processing. Sophia confronted our parents about missing the wedding. She's skipping her showcase to be there for me. James sat beside me. Wow. I didn't see that coming. Neither did I admitted. All these years, I thought she was oblivious to the favoritism. Turns out, she was just a kid benefiting from a situation she didn't create. "People can surprise you," James said, pulling me close. "Sometimes in good ways." The next few days passed in a blur of wedding preparations. I heard nothing from my parents, though Sophia texted daily updates, still radio silence, or Mom called but didn't mention the wedding, or Dad asked for your address, but wouldn't say why. 3 days before the wedding, when I had almost given up hope of hearing from them at all, my father showed up at my office. He looked older somehow, the lines around his eyes deeper than I remembered. "Do you have a minute to talk?" he asked from my doorway. I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. He sat awkwardly, hands clasped between his knees. "Your sister showed us your wedding invitation," he began. "The real one." "I know," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "She told me." He nodded, looking down at his hands. "She also said some things, about how we've treated you over the years. About patterns we didn't recognize." He looked up, his eyes meeting mine. "Or maybe patterns we didn't want to recognize." I stayed silent, allowing him the space to continue. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, Olivia. Looking back at decisions we made, events we prioritized." He cleared his throat. Sophia was right. The evidence was there in our family albums, in our calendar choices, in the fact that you felt you needed to hide your wedding from us to protect yourself from more disappointment. "Dad," I started, but he held up a hand. "Please, let me finish. This isn't easy for me." He took a deep breath. "I failed you as a father. We both got so caught up in Sophia's talent, in the constant whirlwind of competitions and showcases, that we lost sight of the fact that we have 2 daughters, both equally deserving of our attention and support." Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes. "I just wanted you to be there sometimes." "I know that now," he said, his own voice thick with emotion. "And I'm deeply sorry it took something this extreme to make me see it." "What about Mom?" I asked cautiously. Dad sighed. "Your mother is struggling with this. She's built her identity around being dance mom for so long that she's having trouble shifting her perspective. But she's trying, Olivia. We both are. And the wedding. We'll be there," he said firmly. "All of us. Your mother and I are not missing our daughter's wedding, no matter what." Relief flooded through me, though I tried to temper it with caution. "What about Sophia's showcase?" "Some things are more important than dance," he said simply. "Family is more important. You are more important." When he left, I allowed myself to cry, not from pain this time, but from the tentative hope that maybe, just maybe, our family could heal after all. June 12th dawned clear and perfect, the kind of early summer day every bride dreams of. The garden venue was spectacular, roses in full bloom, with white chairs arranged in neat rows facing an elegant pergola draped with greenery and white flowers. I spent the morning getting ready with Rachel, Melissa, and now, surprisingly, Sophia. My sister had thrown herself into bridesmaid duties with unexpected enthusiasm, running last-minute errands and fussing over my hair and makeup. "Are you nervous?" Sophia asked as she helped arrange my veil. "About marrying James?" "Not at all," I replied honestly. "About seeing Mom and Dad?" "Absolutely. They'll behave," she promised. "Dad had a long talk with Mom last night. I've never seen him stand up to her quite like that before." I caught her eye in the mirror. "Thank you, Sophia. For everything." She smiled, blinking back tears. I'm just sorry it took me so long to see what was happening. Some sister I've been. Hey, I turned to face her. Today is about new beginnings, not old regrets. Okay. She nodded, carefully dabbing at her eyes to preserve her makeup. Okay. An hour before the ceremony, there was a knock at the door of the bridal suite. Rachel opened it cautiously, then stepped aside. It's your mom, she whispered to me. My mother entered hesitantly, looking elegant in a pale blue dress I had never seen before. Her eyes widened when she saw me in my wedding gown. Olivia, she breathed. You look absolutely beautiful. Thanks, Mom, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. An awkward silence fell between us. Sophia and the others discreetly excused themselves, leaving us alone. I brought you something, my mother said, opening her clutch. She pulled out a small velvet box. It was my grandmother's, your great-grandmother's. Inside was a delicate pearl hairpin with tiny diamonds set in silver filigree. Something old, she explained. And family. I touched the pin gently. It's beautiful. I always planned to give it to you on your wedding day, she said. I didn't imagine it would be like this. I looked up at her. I didn't either, Mom. She set the box down and took both my hands in hers. Olivia, I owe you an apology. A lifetime of apologies, really. Mom, you don't have to. Yes, I do, she interrupted firmly. Your father and I have spent the past week having some very difficult conversations, with each other, with Sophia, and with ourselves. What we realized isn't pretty. She paused, composing herself. We did prioritize Sophia's activities over yours. We did take you for granted. We assumed your independence and resilience meant you didn't need us as much, when in reality, you just stopped asking because you knew the answer would always be no. Tears threatened to ruin my makeup, but I couldn't look away. The worst part, she continued, is that we didn't even see it. We thought we were good parents to both of you, just in different ways. It took Sophia laying out the evidence, years of missed events, the photo albums, the patterns, for us to face the truth. She squeezed my hands. I'm not asking for forgiveness today. That would take time and changed behavior. I'm just asking for a chance to do better, to be the mother you deserved all along. I nodded, unable to speak. And, she added, I would be honored if you would let me help you with this. She picked up the hairpin. May I? Yes, I whispered. As she carefully secured the pin in my updo, her hands gentle and precise, I felt something begin to heal between us, a small first step toward reconciliation. There, she said, stepping back to admire her handiwork. Perfect. When she left, I took a moment to compose myself, breathing deeply and checking my makeup in the mirror. Then it was time. Outside, guests had taken their seats. James waited at the altar with his best man. As I prepared to walk down the aisle on my father's arm, I felt a strange mixture of emotions, joy for my future with James, cautious hope for a new chapter with my family, and a sense of completion, as if a circle that had been broken for years was finally being mended. Ready? My father asked, offering his arm. I took it, feeling the solid strength of him beside me. Ready? The ceremony was everything I had dreamed it would be, intimate, meaningful, filled with love. James's vows made me laugh and cry. Mine made him do the same. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, the garden erupted in applause. At the reception, held under a silk tent adorned with twinkling lights and more flowers, I found myself constantly glancing at the table where my parents and sister sat today. They looked different somehow. My father more attentive to my mother. My mother less rigid, smiling more easily. Sophia, animated and engaged, introducing herself to James's family without a single mention of her dance career. During the father-daughter dance, Dad held me close. "I'm so proud of you, Olivia," he said. "Not just today, but every day. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that enough." "You're telling me now," I replied. "That's what matters." Later, James and I circulated among our guests. When we reached my family's table, my mother stood and embraced me warmly. "This is a beautiful wedding," she said. "Thank you for letting us be part of it." "Thank you for coming," I replied sincerely. "We wouldn't have missed it," my father added, and for the first time in my life, I actually believed him. Sophia caught my eye and winked. I smiled back, a silent acknowledgement of her role in this family transformation. As James and I moved on to the next table, he squeezed my hand. "Everything okay?" I looked back at my family, imperfect, complicated, but present. "Yes," I said. "I think it might actually be." What none of us could have anticipated was the conversation that would take place the next day at brunch. A revelation from Sophia that would completely reshape our family's future and bring our journey full circle in the most unexpected way. The morning after the wedding, we hosted a farewell brunch for out-of-town guests at a restaurant overlooking Boston Harbor. James and I greeted everyone as they arrived, accepting congratulations and well wishes with the contented glow of newlyweds. My parents and Sophia arrived together, looking surprisingly relaxed. As we settled at a table by the window, Sophia cleared her throat. "Since we are all here together," she began, "there's something I need to tell you. All of you." My parents exchanged concerned glances. "I've made a decision," she continued, her voice steady. "I'm leaving the dance company." "What?" my mother exclaimed. "But why? Is this because of the showcase?" Sophia shook her head. "No, Mom. This has been coming for a while. I've been accepted to Boston University for the fall semester. I am going to study psychology." The table fell silent. My father was the first to recover. "Psychology? Since when have you been interested in psychology?" "Since always," Sophia replied. "I've just never felt like I could talk about it. Dancing was our family identity for so long, my identity. But it's not what I want for my future." My mother looked stunned. "But you're so talented. You've worked so hard. All those years of training." "And I don't regret them," Sophia assured her. "Dancing taught me discipline, dedication, how to work through pain and disappointment. But it was always more your dream than mine, Mom." I watched my mother's face as she processed this revelation. We thought it was what you wanted." "When I was little, it was," Sophia acknowledged. "I loved the costumes, the applause, being the center of attention. But as I got older, I realized I was dancing for your approval, not for my own joy." "Why didn't you say something sooner?" my father asked gently. Sophia glanced at me. "For the same reason Olivia stopped telling you when things were important to her. I was afraid of disappointing you." The parallel wasn't lost on any of us. My parents looked from Sophia to me and back again, recognition dawning in their eyes. "Oh, my girls," my mother whispered, reaching for both our hands across the table. "What have we done to you?" "It's not what you've done," I said. "It's what we can all do differently moving forward." Sophia nodded. "I want to study how family dynamics shape people's choices and relationships. Maybe help other families avoid the patterns we fell into." "And what about your scholarship? Your position in the company?" my mother asked. "I've already spoken with the director." She was disappointed but understood. The scholarship money was always mine to use for education if I chose to step away from dancing. Sophia smiled wryly. "I actually read the fine print." "I don't know what to say," my father admitted. "This is unexpected." "You don't have to say anything right now," Sophia told him. "Just know that this is my choice, and I'm excited about it." I hope you can be excited for me too, eventually. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. We only ever wanted you both to be happy. Somehow we lost sight of what that actually meant. We are still family, I reminded them. We can figure this out together. James, who had been quietly observing, raised his glass. To new beginnings, he proposed. For all of us. We clinked glasses, the sound bright and hopeful against the backdrop of harbor waves. Later, as James and I prepared to leave for our honeymoon, my parents and Sophia walked us to our waiting car. Thank you, I said to Sophia, hugging her tightly. For being brave enough to stand up for both of us. Thank you for showing me it was possible, she replied. Your wedding invitation stunt was truly inspired. I laughed. Not my finest moment, but it got the job done. My father embraced me next. We'll do better, he promised. Starting now. I know you will, I said, and meant it. My mother's hug was longest of all. I love you, Olivia, she whispered. I'm sorry it took me so long to show it properly. I love you too, Mom. As James and I drove away toward our honeymoon and new life together, I couldn't help but reflect on the strange journey that had brought us to this point. What had begun as a desperate test, a last attempt to matter to my family, had become the catalyst for healing wounds I thought would never close. 5 years later, watching our wedding video on our anniversary, the changes are still remarkable to me. Sophia completed her psychology degree and is now in a doctoral program, researching family systems and sibling relationships. My parents found new identities beyond dance mom and dad. Mom joined a community theater group, and dad rediscovered his love for sailing. As for me and James, we are expecting our first child in 3 months. When we announced the pregnancy to my family, my parents immediately rearranged their schedules to be available for the birth and afterward, no questions asked, no competing priorities. Family relationships are never perfect. We still have our moments of tension, old patterns that threaten to resurface. But now we recognize them, name them, and choose differently. We've learned that true family loyalty isn't about blood, it's about showing up, being present, and valuing each person's journey equally. My wedding day, which I once feared would cement my position as an afterthought in my family, instead became the turning point that brought us all back together, stronger, more honest, and finally able to see each other clearly. I think about this often as I prepare for motherhood. How will I ensure my child never questions their place in my heart? How will I balance attention and support if we have more children? These questions matter deeply to me because I've lived the alternative. What I know for certain is this. Sometimes the most painful tests yield the most valuable lessons. Sometimes what feels like an ending is actually a beginning. And sometimes, the family you fight for becomes exactly the family you need. I hope my story resonated with some of you out there. Have you ever experienced a moment where standing up for yourself changed your family dynamic? Or have you had to confront painful truths to heal relationships? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this journey meant something to you, please hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for being here with me today. Remember, it's never too late to reset family patterns and create the relationships you deserve. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.